a powerful breakthrough in our mindset for really our entire life, not just our work, but really getting a clear perspective on who we want to be when we grow up, and that we're very well rounded. You know, when we get all work and no play makes us for very dull people, and we probably sacrifice a whole lot, especially as entrepreneurs, that we sacrifice so much because, one, we really love what we do for a living. And so, you know, it's hard for us to even recognize when we are completely off balance in everything else in our world. So today we're going to do a little exercise and activity to help us bring all of who we are and all of the phases of our life, you know, kind of our whole compound of life into perspective. And so we're going to take a piece of paper, and if you can't do this right now, then just follow along mentally with me. But we're going to take a piece of paper and we're going to write down 5 different categories. And so you can't really fold your paper up into 4s because you can fold your paper up into 4s and then use the center section as your 5th category if you want to, kind of to give you some differentiation in the space. And so if I was to take a piece of paper and fold it in half and fold it in half again, right, I would have 4 sections to my paper, and then I could kind of carve out this little middle section as my fifth space. And so in each of those 5 areas, you get to write down one of these words. We're going to have a section for our relationships, which is, you know, family and friends, our loved ones. We're going to have a section for our finances or our revenue. We're going to have a section for faith, you know, our spiritual walk. One of the sections is going to be for kind of our self-care, relaxation and fun, health and wellness, right? Personal time. And then the final section is kind of our professional life. So maybe our business goals, if we're a business owner, entrepreneurial goals, all of that. You know, kind of our enterprise and our professional world. So we have 5 areas. When we think about the different spaces of our world, and when we think about work-life balance, I know a lot of people say that it's a myth because it's never going to be completely balanced. Semantics, people, right? We want to make sure you have a life and not just work, that your family and your friends and your personal care, that there's other elements to who you are, because we're complicated beings. And what we discovered is at any one time, if you were to rate on a scale from 1 to 10 in each one of these 5 sections, a scale from 1 to 10, where you think you are in optimizing and just in the optimal space. So when I think about relationships, you know, friends and family, and you can even think of this, you know, it doesn't have to be just in general of a score, but you can even think of a name of a person. You know, if you've got your kids, if you've got a loved one, if you've got a parent, somebody that you're really wanting to build a deep relationship with, on a scale from 1 to 10, if you were to rate that right now, with how much time are you spending pouring into your relationships and developing time with family and friends? Is it hit or miss? Is it just completely random? Have they been put on the back burner while everything else around you is growing? And so scale from 1 to 10 in your family and relationships. And your finances, the same thing. And I don't just mean, you know, just revenue, but what about your savings goals, your debt to income ratio? You know, are you planning, you know, are you saving up for a vacation? Do you have enough in the bank, you know, for a windfall? Do you have your insurance all set up, and, you know, kind of your whole financial picture? And if you were to rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, where would that fall into? Think about your spiritual walk as well, your faith, your spiritual walk, your quiet time. Has it gone on the back burner while everything else is front and center? Or is that the one thing you are super strong in? You've got, you know, time every day where you are feeding yourself spiritually. Your personal time, and I know a lot of times this is an easy one to put on the back burner, is our self-care, right? Maybe we're eating crappy food or stuff that's not really even food. We're not taking the time to be nutrition and clean eating, or physical health as well, walks. Are there issues when I think about even our medically? Are there things you've been putting off medically and not having taken care of, and going to the doctor and having something checked? I've got a little tooth that I've kind of been on watch for a way longer than probably I should have, but who's got time for that? And so thinking about your personal care and your self-care on a scale from 1 to 10, where would that fall right now? And I want you to know that there's no wrong number when we're putting our scales and we're going to grade ourselves. There's no wrong number. This is just, we're gathering information. We're creating kind of a roadmap and a picture of where we are right now. And on that fifth one, entrepreneurial goals, your business goals. Where are you in your career? Where are you in the goals that you set for yourself this year, or just even up to this point in your life? Are you starting all over? Are you in a transition phase? Or are you kind of on, you finally have gotten that roller coaster all going and you're kind of finally riding the wave, or you're seeing different things come to fruition professionally. And so those are the 5 areas: your relationships, your financial picture, your spiritual walk, your personal care, and your professional arena. So there should be 5 areas. And if I have something on here, if you've got something in your life that's super important to you and it doesn't fit in one of these categories, you can always make a 6th one. There's no rule that says there only has to be 5 categories in your life. And so if you've got something else that is taking up a lot of time and energy in your resources, or a goal or a dream, or that needs to be in here, then by all means, put it in here. This is your assessment and this is for you. I kind of think about the different areas and things that end up on my calendar when I plan out my week, when I plan out my month, even when I plan out my vacations in a year. I would put my vacations in my personal time. A lot of the conferences and reading time that I do in my professional time. And so pretty much everything kind of fits for me in these 5 areas, but they don't have to only fit in your 5. You can add as many different areas as you'd like. But now let's think about this. Let's go back. And if you didn't, put a scale from 1 to 10 of where you are. And again, no judgment. There's no wrong answer. It's just to kind of give you just an idea of where am I. And here's what we've discovered is anybody in the personal development world, that the one of them, you're going to always be higher in one of them. In one area, whatever your highest number is, there's going to be one that is where you're always, putting your attention to. And it could be different times of the year and different seasons of your life. But let's say, for example, might be really high in our professional and our entrepreneurial world, right? We're putting a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resource. Our mindset is constantly on, how can I do this? How can I grow this? And so if everything is super high in my professional realm, there's probably an area that's really lacking that is going to be our lowest. It might be my personal care, right? We put that on the back burner. It might be relationships. It might be my spiritual walk. It might be our finances, because we're pouring everything we got into growing our company. And so it's not to say that everything's going to be a 5, a 7, or an 8, or even a 10. There's always going to be one that is going to be high. And at the same time, on the other side of that scale, you're always going to have one that is really being sacrificed for the sake of that other. Does that make sense? Is that tracking with you? So it's not that they're all going to always be, 50-50 or 20%, 20-20. It's not going to work like that. There's going to be times in your life where you are focused maybe really on your relationships. And maybe it's when you've got young kids at home and they really need you, or you've got aging parents that somebody is really dependent on you, or it's just a time in your life where you just need your peeps around you, right? You need your tribe, you need your village, right? You need your crowd. And so relationships, I think there are times in our lives where our relationships are so important to us, and we pour everything we've got into those relationships, but maybe some of the other areas of our life end up feeling the sacrifice to that. And so today, especially as we are wrapping up the year and going into a brand new year, right? We have a clean slate of kind of planning out our perfect year. What would that perfect year look like if you could actually have it? If you know, the people in your life were around and the finances were set and you had all the spiritual time and the personal care, if everything was like ticket, right, and rolling, what would your perfect life look like? And you get to design that, right, as we go into 2018 of how we want that all to play out. And so the next step, the next part of this exercise, so now we've kind of defined what the areas of our life are, what our priorities are, what we value the most. We've put a number, we've scaled it, we've kind of just did our own personal assessment. Remember, there's no wrong answer, just a 1 to 10 in each of those areas. We can probably look at that and say, yep, this is exactly the area I've been putting all my attention in. And because of that, I've seen some sacrifice in some other areas. But now let's look at this. As we are going to plan our perfect year, if it's not a 10, if the number isn't a 10, write down or think about and then write down, what would it take to make it a 10? How could that be a 10 in my life? And so if I'm looking at my finances and it's not a 10, it's not a 10 because, you know, I wanted more money in my savings. I want to be investing more in my retirement. I'd like to have less money on my you know, American Express bill, right? Or whatever that is. And so write down, what would it take to make that a 10? In my faith walk, you know, what would it take to make that a 10? I want, you know, daily quiet time, daily gratitude time where I'm in my spiritual walk. Maybe I'm, you know, spending more time and maybe I need a church or a home church, or looking for a Bible study or a group that I can connect with on a regular basis, once a month at least. Or maybe there are, you know, faith-based events that I want to start attending. And so make that list in there. What could make that a 10 if I was going to do these things? In my relationships, you know, calling my mom once a week, you know, lunches with my kids, dates with my spouse, you know, making sure that I'm hanging out in more girlfriend time and spending more girlfriend time. What would it take to make that a 10? More guy time, more cigar time for you gentlemen, right? You know, maybe there was a trip or an activity. I've been, you know, my girlfriend and I have been saying we wanted to go and get pedicures once a quarter or a massage. You know, put that in there in that relationship. What would it take to make that a 10? And now you've got a list of things, right, that would make that and kind of up the game for you, up your joy quotient, up your up the quality of life that you're feeling, right? It's all about quality of life in your personal care. Like I said, you know, in order to make that a 10, should I finally make that dentist appointment? Should I, you know, have my mammogram? Do I need more massages? Do I need to get better sleep? Do I need to change some of the things that I'm eating? Do I need to make sure I've got more activity and exercise in what would it take? So you know those things. Like, nobody has to judge you. Nobody even has to look at this list to grade you. You know what those things are. And so write those down and write them down for each one of those. If it's not a 10, what would it take to be a 10? And no judgment, right? No judgment. That doesn't matter that the answer or that the number was a 1 or a 2 or a 3. Like I said, as we're focusing on different areas of our life, something's going to be sacrificed. But now when you go back and you look at the list of the things that would take to make it a 10 in every one of your areas, right? Your professional goals, your personal care, your faith, your financial picture, and your relationships. You now have a list of things that matter to you. You now have a list of things that you know would be important to you that would increase your quality of life. And those are the things now that we can, as we put our goals together, as we start putting our calendar together for 2018, to make sure that these appointments are in there. We're meeting with our financial planner. We're scheduling that girlfriend time. I've got that dentist appointment. I'm going to that conference. I know Gary Barnes is kicking it off at the very beginning of the year with his Business Mastery Boot Camp. And so that's on the calendar. I bought my tickets. And so you now have your to-do list, but now we take that to-do list and take it one step further, and we put it in the calendar. We baby step our way into creating the most amazing 2018. And it all starts with just our mindset. Again, we beat ourselves up way too much as to what we're not doing, what we're not accomplishing, how far we haven't come in our goals. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. When that clock strikes midnight in just a couple of weeks from now, we get a do-over. We get a mulligan. And now you kind of have the guidance map for what you find is important to you. So I hope that was valuable for you. I hope you take some time. If you didn't, I know we rushed through it a little bit, but we all know where we're at, right? We don't need somebody else to tell us. We know what's important to us. And now we have the guide map and the roadmap to set ourselves on our future. So with that, I'm going to open it up and see if there are any comments, any questions, or any thoughts about today's breakthrough.
I want to say thank you for doing that. I know where this comes from, and this is kind of cool to be included in this this year. And I'm just doing my numbers and trying to figure out what my average is.
No, you can't average it. That doesn't work. Because that's an overall, so you've got a 6.4, right? Or I don't know, I guess. And if you're happy with that, then you're happy with that. And I guess nobody else gets to decide for you, Eric. If the goal is for you to have an average of a certain number, and that's good for you, then that's good for you. I just think that for so many of us, we beat ourselves up, and we don't even know where, if we're not feeling fulfilled or we're feeling out of balance, we don't even know often where to even start. And so this gives us a great place to kind of start. I remember for years, I'd put dance lessons, that I wanted to have dance lessons, and it ended up on my list 3 years in a row before I actually even took a class. So, all right, anybody else want to make a comment about your life assessment today? All right. Well, I know I gave you a lot to chew on, So I want to thank you all for being here. That was your breakthrough. Hopefully you had a breakthrough. I did the first time I went through this, and I go through this with my husband every single year, and then we review it once a quarter, just to kind of keep that life. And by life balance, again, semantics. Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel fulfilled? Are you living your purpose? And are you making a difference in the community? And I think all of these things add into that. Okay, so with that is the end of our Power Boost breakthrough today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Sorry for those that came on late, no big deal. You've got the recording. And for those that are going back and hearing the recording, I hope you have a powerful breakthrough and this makes a difference for you. All right, with that, we're going to switch on over to our media breakthrough training now. Everything's a breakthrough today for Angel. And one of the best things about Experience Pros is we get to put you on the radio, right? And as a regular guest on as a speaker on not only on our radio program, but on podcasts, on other people's blogs, and speaking on other people's stages, you create an incredible presence and powerful branding for your company, differentiates yourself from the competition, elevates you from the competition, and in your clients' minds. When people hear, okay, I was just a guest on a program, even if it's not in your area, even if it's not local and it's a national program, and you post that, you get to be a part of that, elevates who you are. Even if they didn't hear it, they now know you are an expert in your industry and that other people have endorsed you as an expert in your industry. And so today I want to make sure that we talk about everything being matchy, that it all blends together. When we're talking about your brand, and kind of even in this, we did our assessment of all the different 5 areas of our life. If we were to do an assessment of all your marketing of who you are, and we look at your email address, we look at your business card, we look at your website, we look at your social media presence, we look at your presentation titles and your book titles, and we look at all of those things, do they match? Now, they don't have to be all exactly the same when we start talking presentation titles and book titles, but does it still fall under your same umbrella? And is it easy for people to find you? So, for example, we are, and I'll just use Experience Pros as the guinea pig. So fill in the blank for you. But too often, when we start out with not having everything all matchy. It's kind of hodgepodge, and we throw it together. And so our Facebook pages, Eric had a Facebook page, Angel's got a Facebook page, everybody on our staff has a Facebook page, right? And so everybody's got a Facebook page, and rather than have my Facebook page be the branding for the company, even though I still have one, and I even have my own Twitter account, like we all have our own Twitter pages. But when I talk about the branding for Experience Pros, we want to make sure that Experience Pros has its own Twitter account. It matches my website and it matches my social media, right? So it's my social media, my website, and my email address. And so I have angeltussie.me. Actually, I don't, but I know a lot of people have their own branding. And if your name is your branding and that's who you are, let's say, for example, Darren Hardy, right? Darren Hardy's name is his brand. And so he has darrenhardy.com as the website, and that is the name of his brand. But let's say, for example, that Darren Hardy had a different company and it was Insane Productivity. And if Insane Productivity was the name of his company, then he would want to use insaneproductivity.com as his website. He'd want to have his email address be darren@insaneproductivity.com. And then all the social sites were insaneproductivity.com. Does that make sense? Too often we have them all different. Why does this matter? Why is this important? If you are going to be a guest on somebody else's program and they ask for your contact information, and all of a sudden it's, well, I'm Angel at angelgmail.com, right? My Gmail address.com. My website is angelmtussie, and my business name is Experience Pros, or you can follow me on my social sites where I'm that radio gal. Now we've created a whole lot of confusion, and nobody can remember who you are or how to find you. Makes it hard when they're listening to you in a podcast or radio to follow you, to remember who you are. Makes it really hard to refer you to anybody else looking to that I would want to refer you to, and makes it really hard then even for the host of the program to say, okay, so are you radio gal? Are you Experience Pros? Angel Tussie? Which one? And now you flub up your radio host, which you never want to do. And I'll tell you, we do our very darndest to try to keep it all straight, but we are flying off the cuff, right? It's all live, it's all in the moment. And when it doesn't match, it makes it really hard for even us to continue to reuse that throughout the radio program. A lot of times you'll hear Eric and I will go back and say, or in the middle of speaking to a guest, and remind people our guest today is, it's Eric over at Experience Pros. Check him out at experiencepros.com or follow him on his social sites at Experience Pros. And it just rolls off the tongue. Remember, a confused buyer says no. Well, confused listeners don't do nothing, right? They don't click, they don't remember, they can't find you on social. And so making sure that everything matches is what I want to remind you of today. One of the things you can easily do, if it doesn't all match up now, rather than have to, and you've got an interview coming up, is here's kind of a sneaky little twist on that, is to have create a memorable landing page, a URL that you can just send everybody to. And maybe it's your name, or maybe it's the book title. So during your interviews, you can just send everybody to that one landing page and use that. And from that landing page, they can click to your social sites, send you an email, and everything can kind of come from that one landing page. It's kind of the one kind of sneaky trick. If everything else doesn't match, and rather than have to go and undo everything that you've done and redo everything you've done, because I don't want you to have any excuses. I don't want you to have anything that's stopping you from going out and moving forward. A lot of times you can go online and buy, and so we bought buildyourbrandontheradio.com. That makes it really easy when I'm out doing presentations, when Eric and I are guests on other people's programs, to go buildyourbrandontheradio.com. They can easily click and find us there. And then I don't have to remember all the other stuff. Experience Pros sometimes is a little tricky for people to spell. It's another one. If you have a really tricky name that is hard for people to spell or easily misspelled, or different variations of the spelling, that's where that URL, that kind of sticky URL can come into play and make it really easy for people to find you. So matchy or sticky URL is my lesson for today. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or comments related to this topic or any other about building your brand on the radio? Well, excellent. I know you guys are all super busy. It's a super busy time of year. I want to say thank you so much for your time, for your dedication to growing your company, to growing your mindset, working on your professional development as well. Eric and I are dedicated to helping you get your brand out there, bring more visibility, and elevate who you are in the marketplace. So proud of every one of you for what you guys are doing, and so grateful to be part of your team. Eric, do you have anything you want to say or wrap up with this?
No, I just want to thank you for that lesson. I think that's something that we all need to be reminded of, is that if we confuse our audience, we will paralyze them and create the opposite reaction than what we're hoping to do, which is to engage and start to build that relationship that leads to transactions. So to have our brand out there and matching across all platforms really makes a big impact and a big difference. And solid information on the landing page as well. You can have a brand and still have a different element if it's guiding them back. You know, the one thing that we didn't say is that buildyourbrandontheradio.com redirects straight back to Experience Pros page. And so it is an element of what we do, but it is complemented by the overall umbrella of Experience Pros. So good stuff.
All right. Well, good stuff for everybody. Thank you so much again for your time. Happy holidays. Let me see here. We still have 2 more Power Boosts and breakthrough calls that we'll do for the month of December. And then we're off the final week. So we still have 2 more weeks together. So we'll see you guys next Monday. Bye-bye.